Hi, it's Jenny from Balloon Circus again. Now, thanks to everyone who commented from yesterday. There's a little shout out to Tarn from Brighton. Hi Tarn. And Willow from Nottingham. Hi Willow. And today is a very special day. It is James's first birthday. Happy birthday, James, in South Africa. Hope you're having a great day. And this one is especially for you. This is Mr. Nosey follows his nose. This is Mr. Nosey. He lives in a place called Tiddletown. Mr. Nosey likes to know about everything that goes on. Everybody in Tiddletown knows about Mr. Nosey, and Mr. Nosey knows everything about everybody in Tiddletown. You see, Mr. Nosey is a very nosy man. He loves to see what people are doing. He even peeps through their windows. Mr. Nosey loves to hide behind the pillar box. He waits for the postman to come, and then he sees who all the letters are for. Now, it was Mr. Nosey's birthday. Mr. Nosey went for a long walk, but first he saw Mr. Brick the builder. He was building a brick house. This building site looks interesting, thought Mr. Nosey. I wonder what is going on here. And he took a closer look. Mr. Nosey saw a wheelbarrow. He poked his nose into it. Oh dear, it was full of wet cement. Then Mr. Nosey saw a great big lorry. He looked inside. Oh dear, the lorry driver was tipping out a load of sand. Next, Mr. Nosey walked to the Tiddletown laundry. Mrs. Washer was inside the laundry washing clothes. Rub-a-dub-dub. Mr. Nosey poked his nose into a large tub of water. Splash! Oh dear, said Mr. Nosey. The tub was full of soap suds. Mrs. Washer took all the clean, wet clothes outside. She hung everything on the line to dry. Mrs. Washer nearly hung Mr. Nosey on the line. Ouch, said Mr. Nosey. Mrs. Washer had put a clothes peg on his nose by mistake. Later that day, Mr. Nosey walked down to the harbour. He saw a big lighthouse and he looked at the fishing boats. Hello, Mr. Nosey, said a big friendly fisherman. Hello, said Mr. Nosey. What have you got in your net? The friendly fisherman opened his fishing net. Mr. Nosey poked his nose inside. Oh dear, the net was full of crabs. Then Mr. Nosey saw some more fishermen. They were carrying a great big box. What is in there? Shouted Mr. Nosey. Come and look, said the fisherman. Mr. Nosey looked inside the box. Mr. Nosey saw the biggest fish he had ever seen. The fisherman laughed. Keep your nose out of there, Mr. Nosey. That fish is a nose-eating shark. Poor Mr. Nosey ran all the way home. He'd seen quite enough for one day. In fact, he had seen enough for 2 days. As Mr. Nosey ran up the garden path, he heard noises. He heard some people laughing and talking. They were in his house. What's going on in here? Thought Mr. Nosey, and he peeped into his very own window. Mr. Nosey had such a surprise. He saw Mr. Happy and some of his friends. Happy birthday to you, they all cried. Now that was a nice surprise for Mr. Nosey. Happy birthday, Mr. Nosey. Happy birthday, James. Hope you all enjoyed. See you tomorrow.